What you're looking at is an early build of upcoming Souls-like first-person shooter Guns of Eschaton, which I recently got to play just under 2 hours of. With post-apocalyptic western vibes, it's not dissimilar to the Weird West from tabletop role-playing game Deadlands, if you've ever watched us trying not to die in that.
Edie, you get struck by lightning.
Oh boy.
As someone who loves both Dark Souls and Deadlands, I jumped at the chance to play this game. And this game jumped at the chance to kill me over and over again. So, Guns of Eschaton already has plenty in its favour, but also some elements that reached pure controller smashing territory. Had the controller been mine and not a nice expensive one at a preview event, of course. Let me talk you through my journey across the Old South and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of Guns of Eschaton. First off, the good. Top of the list is the game's visual director, Viktor Antonov. Antonov was the art director of Half-Life 2 and Dishonored, two iconic and instantly recognisable worlds. Antonov sadly passed away in 2025, so this is the last world he designed, but it's a fitting final work for such an important figure in video game art design. In the opening area we got to explore, a western desert town with sandy streets, there are huge weird broken structures in the distance for you to work your way towards. To your right, a big old eldritch dune worm thing is just chilling out, gently and horribly pulsating. Gross. I love it. There are also some delightfully disgusting enemies, such as these horrible eyeball things called beholders, the glutton boss with his gaping maw, and this creepy witch lady known as a Samaritan, who I only realised wasn't human when everyone else cowered at my cowboy presence, but she just turned to face me. Hi. Sorry to have disturbed your, meeting? Catch up? Book club? Speaking of books, you have a handy-dandy codex, which you can look at any time while playing should you keep it equipped to your cowboy's belt, aka the D-pad.
I gifted you my codex so you remember that knowledge makes the difference.
Use your codex on an enemy and you can immediately discover its weak spots. Shoot these weak spots in the correct order and you can save time and bullets. This can really help you get the upper hand in a tough fight, or the upper leg if that's the weak spot. I love the payoff of this, and whenever I successfully shot a whole bunch of enemies in fast succession, I felt more confident than a giant boulder entering a cannonball diving contest. Despite bullets being incredibly fast, you still have the ability to parry like in Dark Souls, should you correctly time your block to a flash of white on an enemy's gun. And I know what you're thinking, how do you parry a bullet? Why, with a magical set of crystal arms, of course. I can't believe you even had to ask. Successfully parry and you'll be given a tiny slow-mo window of opportunity to land a high damage shot on your attacker. Sure, you also have the ability to dodge shots, which, while it does use up your stamina, feels pretty badass. But nailing the parry in Eschaton is more satisfying than a hot bath after a week on the dusty trail, and the feeling is twofold if you also nail the shot after, mostly thanks to this payoff being similarly generous. And it works on melee attacks too. All the above feels like an excellent base upon which to build a game. A gorgeously weird world, creepy enemies, and some really fun mechanics. However, I had my issues with it, so now it's time to turn and look at one thing that makes Souls-likes is their difficulty, and oh boy is this game difficult. Maybe too difficult. While Dark Souls is notorious for being hard, there are often patterns that you can learn for the next time you go through an area or fight a certain enemy. Everything is a lesson, even if it's a tough one. Guns of Eschaton, while playing the opening area of the game, there are two issues that make things infuriatingly hard. 1. Small fights can quickly turn into large ones as your loud gunfire alerts everyone in the vicinity to your presence. And 2, most annoyingly, you can get sniped across the map and never know what killed you, let alone see them. Nothing sucks more than getting hit, trying to see what hit you, and then getting killed before you have a chance to retaliate or take cover. Too often I'd find myself in a fight only to unknowingly walk into another enemy's line of sight and get killed by something from somewhere. What and where exactly? F knows. At times, it felt a bit like I was in a Souls game filled entirely with Anor Londo archers. You know, everyone's favourite bit of Dark Souls.
Oh, there it is.
Although, saying that, in Dark Souls you at least know where the exactly 2 Anor Londo archers are for the next time you approach. Not so for the enemies in Guns of Eschaton. Here there are dozens of them, some like to wander around seemingly unpredictably, and in the moment it's not always clear where you're killed from when you die, and you can't dodge or parry what you can't see. At one point, I experimented to see if you could brute force your way through to the next campfire just by running. This is something that can be done in most areas of Dark Souls, especially if you're on a boss run and know the route. Having learnt the majority of one of the safer routes I'd taken, I gave it a go and... yep, died way faster than any of my other runs. Going by trailers and other things we were shown of the game at this event, there's a boatload of cool new gear and abilities that you'll get to customise your character and playstyle with as you go on. I mean, the guns morph? Cool! But we won't get to see that in my gameplay, because in our 2-hour session, I managed to limp my way from the Hound's Camp base to exactly one other campfire. One. And unlike Dark Souls, where, for me at least, that first new bonfire was an exciting sense of progress, I lit this one with a deep, resentful sigh of relief. Mainly relief that I'd get to show you lot more than one tiny strip of map where I died roughly 3,000 times. There's simply no respite. Dark Souls lets you breathe, but I couldn't talk to an NPC at the campfire because I apparently was still in combat. I've never felt this bad at a game while simultaneously nailing many of its core mechanics. And should you mess up any of those core mechanics even a bit, the game punishes you harshly. It just feels imbalanced and isn't a very attractive prospect for players who just want to be a cool supernatural cowboy. As for the ugly, there's two things. First, a small nitpick. While I've already mentioned the ugly in a good way enemies that really make you feel like you are in an eldritch post-apocalypse, some of the in-game models feel generically ugly. In a world with floating eldritch horrors, some of the wrapped-up cowboys just feel a little too basic. I suspect if they were more visibly gross, they'd feel more unique and tied to this world. Plus, there's one enemy cowboy whose weak spot combination is leg then head, and another enemy cowboy whose weak spot combination is leg then arm then head. And viewer, they can be hard to differentiate if any part of them is obscured because they're sitting down or are not facing the right way. Just make each of them a bit more gross and unique. As soon as I see an enemy I've already encountered in Dark Souls, I immediately recognise it and know how to approach or avoid it. The second ugly thing is the ugly truth. Specifically that maybe Souls-likes and first-person shooters don't mix all that well? First-person games come with very limited peripheral vision, like you're a horse with blinkers on. So half the reason you don't know where the shots are coming from in this game is because you can only see a small slice of the world in front of you, leading to regular deaths from unseen gunmen and melee enemies who I'd heard too late. One part embarrassing, two parts infuriating. Souls-likes require you to not panic, often pushing you into zen-like states of mind in order to nail precisely timed rolls, dodges and parries. Once you're in the flow, it's amazing. But that's so much harder to do in a first-person shooter with limited vision and limited stamina and a whole bunch of enemies bearing down on you at once. The game in its current form feels frustrating and mean-spirited. It's difficult to get across the map without being killed by some mystery sniper, let alone get good. I genuinely felt a sort of relief going into the first boss fight because, as tough as it got, at least I knew I wasn't going to aggro some other random enemy in my efforts to avoid attacks. Some masochistic players will love this game as is, and all power to them. But right now, I reckon the game needs some tweaks so that more than a handful of people will play it past the first hour, rather than immediately go for their sub 2 hour Steam refund. I honestly think some of these Souls-like elements need to be better balanced with the first-person shooter ones. Restocking your health and bullets at campfires is a good idea, as is the weak spot mechanic. But running out of stamina and bullets in a fight where you're being attacked by additional enemies you're not even aware of? Well, that's not very rootin' or tootin'. A good indicator of where I was at is that while I was impressed by the game's gorgeous and accurate reloading animations at first, by the end of the session I was silently swearing under my breath that I wanted it to just hurry the f*** up because Guns of Eschaton had burned through all of my goodwill. The thing is, when showing off the game, the devs of Guns of Eschaton, Eschatology Entertainment, clearly want people to explore and enjoy the cool world they've made. They were keen to listen to and take on feedback, so maybe things will be adjusted before everyone else gets to play. But if not, I can see so many players bouncing off this game faster than the many bullets that ricocheted around the inside of my character's skull. I want to explore more of Antonov's gorgeously weird world and play with more of Eschaton's cool toys, but right now, I feel like it depends on whether the game will let me. Those are my initial thoughts on this early build of the game. Does Guns of Eschaton look promising to you? Do any of you also have the desire to go and poke the big worm thing like I wanted to? No? Just me? Well, maybe poke the thumbs up and subscribe buttons instead, poke your keyboard to share your thoughts in the comments below, and keep an eye out for more stuff like this from Xtra in the next few weeks as we run around Gamescom looking at more upcoming games. Woo!